Recently, I was asked to share a story that I haven't shared before because it's really personal, but I have agreed because while there are, a number of people out there in social media world that have shared near-death experiences, it's not usually somebody that you know. And so I've agreed to share my story. It was from a long time ago. I was in my early 30s. I had been going through a very crazy, intense, unfathomable physical condition for almost 8 years. The pain level was off the charts. Like on a 0 to 10, it was at 1,000. And it was 24/7, every day, for almost 8 years. Every moment that I wasn't asleep. I learned how to cover it really well because I had to. I didn't have support. I didn't have family. I didn't have resources to quit work for 8 years. And so I had to be able to show up for work. So I did what any rational person would do. I got an MRI scan, a CT scan. I made sure I didn't have some crazy, dangerous condition that would put my employers at risk. When I was taking care of their children, I was working as a professional nanny at the time, and I showed up for work every day as if everything was fine because I needed to. I needed to be able to put a roof over my head, and I needed to be able to support myself because nobody else was going to do it for me. And the pain level was so intense that frequently, sometimes for months on end, I would get home at the end of the day and I had a mattress laid out just inside the living room, just inside the front door, so that once I made it home, I could let down my guard, take a deep breath, lay on the mattress and sleep, sometimes for 3 days at a time, because being awake was unbearable. And I was putting on an act all day long at work to make it look like I was totally okay, purely to be able to sustain and support myself. So by the time I got home on the weekend, and thank goodness I had a 3-day weekend, I had nothing left to give. And that went on day after day, week after week, month after month, 24/7, every moment I was awake for almost 8 years. I kept my phone on speed dial for emergency services. I kept it within arm's length at all times. I did not tell my family what was going on because they would have freaked out and demanded that I come home. And I knew that I needed to do my healing at a deeper level, that there was something internal that had to heal for me, and that I had to do it by myself. So at the risk of not having the support that I could have otherwise had on any level, I chose the path that I knew was the right path for me, even though at least 5 times I wrote a farewell letter because I didn't know that I would make it through the day. On one of those occasions, I was walking down to the beach. I had my phone in my hand, I had the emergency services on speed dial, and as I got out of my car and walked toward the ocean, I was pretty sure that I was not likely to leave the beach under my own power. Either I would be carried out on a stretcher by the ambulance, or I wasn't going to make it, and then it wouldn't matter what happened next. That was a really extreme day, and I had faced days like that repeatedly for years. But that day was really different. That day was so radically real. There was no question. I made it down to the beach. The pain just felt like it had gone on a 0 to 10 scale. It had gone from 1,000 to maybe 1,000,000,000. It was so extreme. I just honestly didn't know how my body was still functional. And I sat down on the sand and I had a really deep conversation with my concept of God, the divine, source. And it went something like this. I didn't create myself. I didn't bring myself into existence. You did. This life isn't mine. You gave this life to me. And if it is your decision now to take this life from me, I surrender it willingly into your loving hands. You brought me here, and you will take me away. And if that is your will, then I go willingly to dissolve this life into your divine love. And I meant it. I meant it with every atom of my being. And as I completed that surrender, that prayer of absolute letting go, giving my life into the hands of the divine 100%, part of me became vaguely aware that the beach and everything around me, everything in the physical world, was dissolving into light. There was awareness, and in that awareness there was a boundless sphere of grace, and I could feel the sense of myself merging into that field of divine grace. For what felt like a moment, there was suddenly a panic because I realized, with the part of my mind that was still identified with this body, I realized that my parents, my family, would go through so much profound grief. And because I hadn't told them, I hadn't wanted to scare them by telling them what was going on, it would come as a huge shock. And for a moment, I wished it wasn't time for me to leave my body, purely for their sake, purely to save them from the grief. And that lasted a fleeting instant. And then with that, there was a wave of a sense that they would be okay, that they would be cared for. And then any sense of this body, this life, dissolved entirely into a field of such boundless grace, such boundless joy, such infinite, exquisite blessedness. I've never experienced anything more beautiful in all of my life. I mean that. The experience that we call death turned out to be the most beautiful, beautiful thing, beyond words, beyond anything I could possibly paint a picture of pure beingness. But that beingness had the essence of infinite, boundless peace, joy, blessedness, and love. It was exquisite. And the relief to be out of a body that was tormented with staggering, unbearable, relentless pain for years. I can't even begin to describe. I don't know how long that lasted, but there was a turning point. And in that turning point, I silently understood a communication that shook me to the core. And that was that I had to go back. I had to come back into this body that was an unbearable place to live, because the pain was beyond anything I could honestly bear at that time. And I was simply told it wasn't my time. I have to go back. There's more. And that was so overwhelming. It probably catapulted me back into my body even faster, because I was so shaken to know that I had to come back and endure this physical pain and suffering for who knows how long. And with that, gradually the light faded. Gradually the sense of blessedness and peace receded, and I found myself back in my body. Gently, but in huge resistance. It was overwhelming, and I just collapsed in tears, listening to the sound of the ocean, feeling the sand under my feet, realizing that I was back living in this body after experiencing the glory, the beauty, the blessedness, the peace, the radical grace that is death. We've got death wrong. Death is beautiful. Death is beautiful, but the timing is not in our hands. It's in the hands of the divine. And I was sent back. So I share that message because I was invited and asked to please share that message. Mostly I can say that for myself, I understand death very, very differently now. We have got it 100% wrong. Death is beautiful. It is beautiful. It is the most beautiful thing I have ever experienced. And when my time comes, I may have some regrets. I'm sure I will. But honestly, it is so glorious. How could I fear something so glorious? And it was quite a long time before my body healed. And it's gone through many journeys since then. But once you've experienced something like that, it changes everything. You live differently. I now know that actually living in the world is so much harder than entering into the subtle world and letting go of this physical body. And even though that doesn't prevent me from missing my loved ones when they pass, I know 100%, and maybe that's why I was asked to share, when you lose someone very, very dear to you, they are truly, truly in a place of grace. And I hope that maybe that touches somebody's heart who needed to hear that today. Sending you so much love, so much aloha. Namaste.